All right, welcome to the April version of the Economic Development Commission. Excited to be here today, and thanks to everyone. John, could you lead us in a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Carpenter,
Here.
Counselor Chandler,
Here.
Counselor Sale, or Commissioner Sale,
Here.
Commissioner Cross.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
City Councilor Necroy.
Here.
I'm here too.
Oh, yeah, Vice Chair, Paul.
Okay, we have a quorum and we're ready to go. Let's move through the approval of meeting minutes. Can we get a first for that?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Only in as much as the thing that we're also going to discuss later regarding the economic plan. I'm not able to approve that yet, so I am unable to approve the minutes from the last meeting because it refers to that particular item which we were going to discuss today.
Okay. For formality purposes, let's get a second, so then it's on the motion
Yes.
and then we can discuss it.
Okay.
And then we can vote as accordingly. So can I get a second for that? Okay, you want to go into detail a little bit more on that?
Yes. So Stephen and Eric and I met at Eric's facility. I don't know if you've ever been there, Ryan.
You know, just there, yep.
Strange, what a coincidence. And we felt that the plan that we were being asked to vote on and approve, which we actually did at the last meeting, in itself, it's not really a plan. It's if you look at what cities like Sandy and Malala put together and approved that underpinned their economic plan, it was a very thorough discovery. For example, the Malala one is here, and you can take a look. And there was some really good discovery and investigation into the Sandy one is even a thicker tome than Malala's. And we did not feel that that we were able to approve it because we didn't feel that the thing that underpinned that summary plan was anywhere near thorough enough. And that what we as a committee are charged with is to provide clear recommendations to the city council on the economic development of Estacada. And I think that we all felt that it wasn't really a plan. And if we just went ahead and approved what was presented, we're not really doing our job. And so under the Roberts Rules of Order, I would actually put forth a motion to rescind that initial agreement that we made in here to approve the plan, and to say that we advise the city council that we do not approve that plan, and that we kind of go back to the drawing board with a proper recommendation to look at where we want to be in terms of economic development, and to take into consideration many of these factors that Malala and Sandy have done so in their action plan and their economic development. Otherwise, if we're going to approve what was presented, we'll be paying that sort of cursory lip service to having approved a plan that it isn't really a plan. So I motion to rescind that previous approval that was made in the last March the 11th meeting.
Okay,
And we can talk more about this, and Eric and Stephen can certainly speak to this.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the motion to approve is approving what was discussed and the motions made at the last meeting. So your minutes would still include the motion to approve. So if you are approving the minutes, you're approving that what was in the minutes was what was actually
gonna say.
happened at the last meeting. So that's separate issue from whether you want to approve or disapprove the plan. So the motion on the table is the minutes, though.
I'm sorry, I've never met you.
Sorry, Elena Turpin, the Assistant City Manager.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I believe we've emailed in the.
Yeah, yeah, we have.
I'm that David
Yeah,
Cross.
That's right. It's a motion for the minutes. You haven't approved your strategic economic development plan yet.
Correct.
So the
Yeah.
motion is just on the path.
So as I review the 3 bullet points, and that's what I was going to say as well, is we had a discussion. We agreed as a commission that Eric and David were going to work together to review that stuff. And then we tabled the vote for,
Okay.
so we haven't approved anything.
Okay.
So all we're asking at this point is these 3 bullet points accurate
All right,
So it's
to
still
approve
open.
that? Yeah, it's still open and I support 100% where you're going with this.
okay. So then I motion to approve the minutes.
It's already there in its second, so I think we're ready for the vote. All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, and I appreciate the conversation, and I think I agree with you. We need to do more. Yep. Public comment, Mads or John, do we have anyone who has signed up? Was there a line to speak?
At the door.
Okay, awesome. Nothing there. Commissioner 101 training and signed paperwork. John, I'll have you take it from here.
Correct. Thank you, Chair. In front of you, each of you have a packet that the requirement as being on the commission that you need to read through that, and I need you to sign and date that today so we can collect those and have those on file here with the city. So if you could take a few minutes to do that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Is this the same as the one we did previously?
Could be, you have to
Yeah,
do one
yeah,
every
the,
year.
the, the code of conduct was approved by city council 2 or 3 years ago. It has not changed.
You can use.
So if we already did it.
Yeah, if you already did it, we can continue. Yeah, yeah, you don't have to sign again necessarily.
And I think I signed this when I applied to join the committee earlier this year.
Yeah, I think there's a checkbox. This is just, we'll go through the presentation and then you'll sign the code of conduct. Then you've received all the information. So it's kind of like, you know what you're doing.
I'm duly informed.
You're gonna do the presentation.
I record, I pre.
Oh, we've got a pre-recorded.
All right.
Here we go.
Are you the narrator of this? Awesome.
Planning commission on it.
Yes.
You can clone your voice now and you can
Yeah.
have it read
So,
future
Elena,
announcements.
We just elected a new chair and vice chair 2 meetings ago.
Yep.
February. So it looks like the city requires every April to go through this
It is in,
process.
it is in the code. And if you guys just elected, you can just reaffirm that
Okay,
decision.
so
Yeah,
we'll need the chair to reaffirm that with a vote, I guess. Is that how we would do it?
yeah.
Okay.
And then from whom can we get emails that are not a personal emails to use for committee business?
So generally, we prefer the email to go through the, there's an EDC email. And that John has access to that email. So if you are emailing like a vendor or something, we prefer it to go through John.
Right, so it's not like, for example, on my school board previously, each board member would get,
No.
Yeah. no,
okay, fine.
Each person does not have a city email.
Yeah, that
You-
would
You
be,
can CC the, I believe it's EDC at
It is
cityofesticated.org.
EDC, yeah.
And then it'll be archived. And so we'll have access to that. And as long as everything is CC'd in that,
right.
then
so-
you don't
okay.
have to worry about your email because it'll be in the city's email
Okay.
box.
So we use our personal emails and then EDC is like the archival email.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay, anything else regarding training and or compliance?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So it sounds like you guys wanted to not approve a project plan, but the code does state that you need to present to council in April, a project plan for the next year and a budget for the next year. So those have to be approved today. And your plan looks like your plan looks like 5 years ahead. You don't have to. You just have to say, here's what we're planning on doing this year. And even if what you're planning on doing this year is we're planning on developing a strategic plan, that can be it.
Yeah,
But you,
Melanie, they approved the budget back in February, March.
Okay.
And so I think the discussion today, to your point, will be where they want to go with the strategic plan, whether they want to develop framework or an RFP, or
Mhm.
that could be valuable input to bring to the council. So it's a
Yeah.
council goal to get a strategic plan. That's why we have you here. We want to hear what your thoughts are from that.
A
And
question,
Yes.
please. I was unaware that April was the deadline for this, so, okay, it's not the first time a curveball has been brought to my attention. But supposing we continued this discussion and in, say, July, we said that our recommendation is this, and that was out with the budget that we've had to approve today, would you say, hey, Buster, you got to wait till next April, or?
So we want all the committees to submit a kind of strategic plan, their goals for this coming year. If at some point those change, you can come back to council and say, hey, we reevaluated, we want to change, we said we were going to do 2 events this year and we really want to do 3. Can we do that? And then council could approve that. But any changes to your yearly plan need to go back before council
Right,
for
but
approval.
mine was not, can we hold 3 parties rather than 2? It was, for example, we recommend that as a committee, you spend $150,000 rather than $30,000.
Yes, so if that's not included in the budget for this upcoming fiscal year, it would probably have to wait for another fiscal year. So the budget has to go before the budget committee coming up next month and then before council. And then, so if you're coming back in July and it's a significant change in the budget, we might not have funding for it because it wasn't appropriated during the budget process.
Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying.
Elena, so in the beginning of this presentation, there
Yes.
was a sheet that had bubbles that delineated some expectations of what a committee should do.
Mhm.
First I've ever heard of these responsibilities or what these are, and it clarifies what you're saying has to be done today.
Yeah.
And so as David says, he hasn't seen this, I haven't seen this either. So it's pretty big surprise to say, hey, by the way, this is your responsibility, has to be voted on today. I can't represent the public in any way and come today and vote on such a thing today.
You can't decide what you guys want to do for the next year today, or you can't.
No.
Well, actually, that's a very good way of phrasing it, because that's all we were made aware of today, is that today we were made aware of a responsibility that we had to say what we were doing for the next year.
It is in the city code related to all advisory committees that their project plans and their budget are presented in April.
I was unaware of
Sure.
that.
I wonder though, because, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge that this is a relatively newer
Yeah.
or refurbished economic development board. And so, obviously, as we create a new culture and a new identity with new priorities, I think it's perfectly acceptable for us to, and I think the city council and others would recognize that as we start this fresh start with John as the leader of it and ourselves as new leaders inside the community, that I do think that I think it would be acceptable to say our plan is to build a plan,
Mhm.
and that's what we're going to do over the next year.
Yeah.
And I think that would be an acceptable thing that we could vote on, is to say we are unsatisfied with what's been presented, and so we're going to spend the year to build what we want that best reflects us and how we can represent our community. And I think that's a sufficient plan
Yes.
to work through. And if I remember correctly, and I'm often wrong, or at least people tell me that, and that is, last month we did some budget work and we did propose some significant budget increases, particularly, if I remember correctly, in marketing and some other pieces. And so I do believe we have satisfied our requests, which are due today, but we did that work last month. That should come to the city council, which we do expect a yes, by the way. But I think that will also support the plan we're trying to develop and having the funds to do so. If I remember correctly, the hotel research was one of them, and we decided we wanted to research an additional thing.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory on
What I
what
saw
was.
on your budget is that the outreach brochure, a summer luncheon, and then a fall luncheon and a hotel market study.
I think
the total
food
budget.
carts was the other thing that we wanted to add to that, if I wasn't.
I think that was the council priority, I think, that came out, right? Or they
Food
were-
carts?
Food carts or some type of a facility for food carts, something the council was interested in.
Do you recall
Remember there
that,
were-
Sean?
Yeah. No,
Some-
you're
some
right.
discussion there,
The
yeah.
three,
Right.
those were the items. that
That's
the-
correct.
we
And
sub- Yeah,
that,
the
Yeah.
downtown study. So there was
Yeah.
a hotel
That one.
study, 2 events. We talked about doing an industrial summit event like in July at the campus out there.
Sure.
And then a downtown business outreach in the fall, September, October, hotel study, and then looking at what we could do potentially for a downtown study here.
And the other
And
part
that-
of it was kind of a
And part of it
messaging.
had the messaging. We ended,
Yeah,
we amended
messaging
it, put in
campaign of some
messaging
type,
for
yeah.
the marketing. there.
It's in our meeting minutes
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
I think the goal was to open it up so that there was a broader application of the $30,000 to not just a hotel study. It was more able to be looked at the broader economic study.
Yeah. And so my point by bringing that up is I think we've already satisfied our recommendations for
Mhm.
budget stuff.
For the budget, yes.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
last March. And so I feel like we can check that box.
Mhm.
And now we're just waiting for the yes.
Well, and I think too, just maybe Elena, you could talk a little bit about the budget process since we have.
Yeah.
It's new to the committee members
Yeah.
here. Some people have gone through, but
Bef-
kind of
Well,
the
look like
timing and.
David
Before
had a
that, let's
question.
give
Yeah.
Commissioner Cross the opportunity because it might.
so that slightly increased budget last time was on the basis of the plan that we'd been presented. And then the subcommittee of Stephen and Eric and I went off and talked about it. And it became very clear immediately that the plan was not a plan and we really needed to dive deeper. So yes, Chairman,
Carpenter.
Yeah, you can call me anything you want.
yeah, I looked at Stephen's, I was going to call you Chairman Chandler,
Yeah.
but it didn't gel, so it's okay. Ryan, sorry. Yes, we did approve a budget, but it was in light of what we were presented with at the last meeting. The fact is that what's come out in the meantime, my question is it acceptable for us today to actually inflate that number and say it is our recommendation to say $100,000? Get that approved, and then down the road in July, when we find out we only needed 50, then we realize we're not spending as much. Otherwise, my fear is that we're going to now go into a discussion about what we really need as an economic development committee. And there's a chance, as Elaine has intimated, that we may not get that okayed until next April. And so what we've done is forestalled our economic development for yet another year because we were not in a position to be able to say, actually, what we really need is a better plan, because if this is the answer, the question's all wrong. So can we do that today? And, or are we bound
You-
by this?
You can do that today. I do want to clarify a couple things. I only have like 4 minutes before my next meeting. So one is, there are portions of your budget which are under your control. So like your event planning for your 2 events that's committee, you spend that. Things that are larger budget items like the hotel study is under the city's budget because that has to do contract management and committees can't manage contracts. So if you're recommending something like a larger study, like $100,000, marketing plan, I don't know what you're thinking of, that wouldn't necessarily be in your committee budget. That would be a recommendation to the city council to include in the city budget.
That's, I believe, is what we're going to
Okay.
come up with.
So
Today.
that's fine. And it doesn't necessarily change your committee budget because your committee ask is just the things that you have control over. So you can recommend things to the city that the city would have control over, like those larger contracts. Okay.
Yeah, and for example, like probably that Sandy was $50,000 to $80,000 that Washington firm. So just to give you,
Thank you.
but we'd have to call on, I'm not saying that's how much it is, but I'm just saying what you're looking to do, if you're going to make a recommendation and have that discussion to go to council to do a plan like what, Sandy did is, they're, and again, that'll go to the, the budget committee and they'll discuss whether they have the funding or not to do that.
Sure.
So for something like that, I would recommend you recommend what you want, not an amount, because then the city would go out and kind of look at cost estimates and they'll be able to budget it as we have funds for, or we can obtain grant funding, it'll be more under the city's control for a larger kind of plan like that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for that clarification. And it sounds like one of the pressing issues of today is just to amend the conversation we had last month about the budget requests and those proposals. So that sounds great. Okay, anything else with training and compliance? We good? Okay, then we're going to move on to the hot topic, which is strategic plan. And I will yield to Commissioner Cross and Commissioner Sale and Commissioner Stahl and their committee work.
The purpose of the subcommittee was to break out and see how the plan that we'd been presented and had discussed at the last committee meeting, how we could kind of tweak that to make it a little bit more smooth at the edges and then put that forward. But what became very clear as we looked at that document is that in itself, it was not adequate to fulfill the remit of this committee to create economic development for Estacada. And so we looked at comps like a realtor would do, like what cities that are near us and are sort of kind of similar have faced this challenge in the past where they wanted to economically develop their city and their environment and their business community with a view to having a true economic development for the next 5, 10, 25 years. And so the documents that we looked at were the economic development strategic plans and the vision and action plan for Molalla and for Sandy. What became very clear is that those cities had engaged with professionals who really took a deep dive and took apart the different aspects of the economic frameworks of those cities and said, what is needed to economically develop for the future? And the economic study, which was touched upon by a consulting group, found a number of things like money was going out of Estacada, although the population of Estacada had grown, the economy of Estacada had not grown. And there were another number of other observations made within that survey. But what that survey brought forward is more questions than answers. And we felt that the proper way to address those questions was then to go into this deep dive to say, let's break apart Estacade and let's look at its real strengths, opportunities, weakness, and threats, and look at what we actually need to do to our economy to make it actually develop and grow. And we felt that the current document on the table that we'd all seen at the last board meeting did not properly or adequately address that kind of thing, which is why it was our feeling and our collective wish to vote on this, that plan should not be accepted. We should recommend to the city council that what we need is this deep dive economic strategic plan for Estacada, and that we would go forward with the different components of that. And then based on the items in the strategic plan for Estacada, we would take different actionable items, which would then filter through to projects and budgets, etc. Our fear is that if we don't do that and we simply accept at face value what was presented to us, we're still going to be in the state that we are today with Estacada's economy, and that although its population will increase due to the housing development that Holt and other companies are pursuing, the size of the city will grow and you'll see 15 or 18,000 on the population, but the economy won't change. We'll still have the basic economic framework and economic makeup that we have, and we'll still have the same challenges that were presented in the survey, where although the population has grown and Estacada has grown, we've not truly developed our economy. We've not fulfilled our remit as a committee to the city council. So on that basis, our recommendation is to not recommend or sign or approve of that plan, but to really go much deeper. You know, it's like you don't need a tooth cleaning, you need a whole mouth reconstruction. It was the feeling. Speaking with British teeth, that's a fair analogy.
Yeah, go ahead,
If I
Councilor
may,
Moore.
And
Yep.
thank you for that
Sure.
overview. Just a couple of comments. So this one here that we're talking about. So when you mentioned as presented to us, it was my understanding that we collectively developed what's already in here, like this body. Remember, we all provided feedback and comments and bullet points on the action items that we wanted to take on for this year. There's some complementary data in there around the economy and things that came from our local economists and such. But what was in here is my understanding, it was something that we all created as an action item list for this body. And I'm just wondering if now we're starting to compare some apples and oranges by looking at the Sandy and Molalla comprehensive economic development strategies for a city versus what we've developed as the committee for our own goals for this year. So I just put that on the table because I'm wondering if we're starting to compare two different projects. Whereas this was, here's our EDC and here's the things that we want to do. We want to have a business outreach event. We're going to do some education about the industrial park. A little bit different than maybe what Sandy and Molalla did from a comprehensive economic development strategy for the entire city.
I think, Cindy, thanks for those comments.
Yeah.
You know, John's been kind of shepherding us through this whole process of developing our strategic plan. And after comparing Molalla, Sandy, you know, it comes down to the fact that our economic or strategic plan just does not fit what it should be. And so I think, you know, we can take those guidelines that we've developed over the last 6-7 months and start to incorporate and create a new strategic plan that's going to be more professional, as well as just a much more comprehensive plan that's going to go over everything we want to go over. So that's what I feel, you know, that's what we're trying to get at, Commissioner Sale and Commissioner Cross. That's what we're trying to get at, is that it just was not suitable for something to submit to the council for approval.
I don't think we looked deeply enough into the problem. It was less about comparing it to apples and oranges. It was more asking the question, if this is our economic plan, is it adequate? Then came the what have other cities done? Because when I saw that economic plan at the last meeting, it was the first time I'd seen it, but it was like, well, I don't think we're thinking anywhere deeply enough about this.
And I'm agreeing with you if
Yeah.
we're looking at comparing what was done in those other two communities. Because this, to me, it's our EDC, right? This is us. This is not the city of Estacada.
No,
It's not a big plan.
I understand that. I understand that
Okay.
it's branded with our committee.
Yeah,
I think in and of itself, it doesn't go anywhere deep enough into what we really need to do for Estacada in order to develop its economy over the next 5, 10, 25. I remember seeing a documentary years ago about this Japanese businessman, and he said that he made decisions and thought of things that would have an effect after he'd gone, that he wanted to leave a legacy beyond his generation, beyond his children's generation. And I think that addresses a number of shorter term needs, but like if we think of Estacada, what it wants to be in 50 or 100 years, what would we want to do? And that's that deeper.
and I agree with you. That's not it.
No,
Yeah, it's totally not.
Right.
But I think that's where I'm wondering if we're starting to kind of take a Y in the road, because originally my understanding with this document that we all contributed our feedback to was what we wanted to accomplish this year. Different than what a comprehensive economic development strategy for an entire city for the next 20 years may look like.
if that addresses just the next year, that's one thing, but the deeper question is, how do we want to develop the economy of Estacada longer term? And that doesn't solve that.
I'm going to move to Commissioner McElroy, and then I want to give everyone the opportunity to
Yes, of course.
to
Just to
contribute.
give you some feedback, when the different committees come to give us their plan, they are giving us their plan of what they're gonna execute the next year. That it's I can't recall any committees, and I think I see complete value, definitely the comprehensive plan that's there for that's 50, 80 pages that really digs into the solutions for economic growth. I think that I'm in full support of that, but that's not typical of what the committees are bringing for their goals for the committee for the next year. So like whatever action items that, like whatever's moving us towards that comprehensive plan that you think that the committee can achieve in the next year, that you want to work on for the next year, it's like we're working towards getting all the information for a comprehensive economic strategy for the city of Estacada. And these are the steps we're taking to get towards it that we can achieve in the next 12 months. And then right behind that comes, here's the budget that we're requesting for the year. These are the things we're using the budget money for. And that's more, I do agree that's kind of apples and oranges, the two different things there. What Elena is looking for that's due today is what you guys are going to work on for the next year and hope to accomplish. It gives us something measurable. So I don't think that that's something that's going to be completed in 1 year and you'd be able to produce that to the committee at the end of 1 year. It's going to be getting a contractor on board. And I don't know how much, I mean, we'll have input, the committee will have input to that comprehensive of what things you want them to focus on, but that's going to be mainly handled by a private contractor that's going to get a contract to do that study, is my understanding of it. And so it'd be more about like, I think what would be better to bring to the council and more common with the other committees is the achievable goals for the next 12 months, for the 1 year period that are going to move you towards getting to that. So it'd be like the things that we're gonna determine what items we want focused on in the comprehensive economic plan. That would be an achievable goal for the committee as opposed to the comprehensive, because the city council is going to be strongly involved in the comprehensive economic development strategy for the city itself. And they're going to be leaning on you guys for recommendations of what should be included in that. And so I would that's just my input too. I think that like Elena was saying, and Ryan just kind of paraphrased what Elena was saying. I think Elena, maybe it didn't come out the correct way, but that's what she was saying too, is that is just, you just need to have, it's not that you need to have a comprehensive plan to approve today. Your strategic plan is for what you want to get done in the next 12 months. And I don't think that's an achievable goal to get that plan done in a 12-month
I
period
would
with
agree.
the city government.
So-
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone think beyond the next year? Is it common in a committee for them to say, here's what I want
Yes.
to do for the next year, and here's our plan?
Absolutely. Yeah,
next-
no, absolutely. That just isn't your goals for the next 12 months, but yes, to be looking, we want people that are forward thinking and have a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan But what's gonna get submitted that's due in April is what you're gonna execute in the next 12 months, moving you towards the things that you want to get done in 12 months and towards stay on track and in progress towards the year 3, 5, whatever years you want to break up. It's moving you towards those goals that you want to achieve in a longer period of time.
But
What,
this-
what, your 5-year plan, what can you get done in your 5-year plan that's going to be achievable in the next 12 months? That's a measurable, objective.
Yes, and the next month and the next
Yeah,
week, et
yeah,
cetera,
yeah,
break it
so-
down.
yeah.
So
But
this-
no, definitely want big picture.
I think that's kind of clears up a lot of confusion. So it's pretty much the agenda for 2025 up until next year. So it's not really a strategic plan. It's more of an agenda items for the next 12 months for us to work on.
Well, I think it's definitely a strategic plan, because if you have something that takes more than 12 months that will carry beyond the members that are on the board now, if somebody leaves and a new person comes, it gives guidance to those people that are coming through of what we want to achieve in the longer term. And all you're setting forth for the council, for my meeting, that's been my experience with every committee that's come, is what's happening in the next year. And then at the end of that year, when you guys come back the following year, we can look at, here's the measurable goals and your objectives that you wanted to achieve in the last year. Here's the budget, what you did with it, and what of those objectives did you achieve? And it gives us something that's measurable. So then we know, well, yes, this is what they set out to do. This is what they did. And they're asking for more funding for more items, and they're being very successful at achieving the goals that they're setting. And I think it's worth investing more money into these things, is the way I look at it personally. I can't speak for the rest of the people on the council, but I like to have measurable goals to be able to show what committees are doing. And so I think that, like, and I'm not trying to interject what you guys do for a strategic plan, but like, if I were to see this, I would say these 3 items need to happen in the next 12 months in order for this to stay on pace, for us to have a comprehensive plan. And so we are going to achieve these 3 things, or we're going to identify the things we want included. And those I think would be pretty easy to line out and very easy to measure the success of those being completed too. So that's.
So has any committee yet submitted to the city council a vision plan for beyond a 12-month period?
Yes, Parks and Rec has a Parks Master Plan that was done, I think, in 2017 or 2018. That's a comprehensive plan that took the work of many years of feedback and input from community and from the Parks Committee that created a comprehensive plan. That would be one example of it. And that's very similar to what it would be here. You're
Mhm.
going to have an economic development strategic, like a comprehensive plan, very big picture, long-term, more than 12 months. And then you guys are executing the steps that get us there.
Over the
Yeah,
next year.
over the next year.
And to-
Yeah, and beyond. Yeah, it's not that it's not linear, then you're dropping back down and restarting with a new set of goals. My expectation would be that you guys are climbing a mountain. How far up the mountain are you
Yes.
going to get in the next 12 months? And then carry that on till you get to your goal of where we want to be in that 5 years.
We're all in agreement, actually.
Yeah,
Except that we're basing our thinking only on 12-month sections at the moment, because this document doesn't exist
That's
for us, and
correct.
that's our
Correct.
recommendation, yeah.
And I think the big goal here is getting to that document,
Yeah.
developing. That's a new committee. We don't have a comprehensive plan. That's what you guys are going to help us
Mm-hmm.
develop. And so, yeah,
Thank you.
I think it's very achievable.
Me
So
too.
I think you guys can
Me
have
too.
a good game plan for it. So.
Yeah. Commissioner Moore, go ahead.
I'm just wondering then, just to further clarify, and thank you for talking this through with me too. Maybe we change this to be the EDC work plan for 2025.
Annual work
26,
plan?
Annual work plan.
I think that would be key to the 2025, 2026. That helps me because it says 2025,
yeah.
2030.
I totally get it. I
Yeah.
completely understand. Yeah, because we've talked about this a couple times, and maybe that would just help kind of focus our energy and conversations and feedback on what we want to accomplish in the year.
Yes. Yeah. Commissioner Sale, would you like to?
Well, David did some work and really, I would say simplified this into a document to where we started. They got a lot of the extra wordage out of here. And I don't know if that would be, as we talk back around this, is that more of a simple presentation for the first year? Because I still think there's things in here to get, if that's what we're doing, there's further things in here to dial in than just voting to approve this.
I can circulate that. I just didn't want to go down the quorum avenue, but sure, I can circulate that, but we're being asked to approve this today, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
We can create an edited version of it that best reflects the benchmarks, as Commissioner McElroy was talking about, the benchmarks that we want to try to hit. Because I think, again, to summarize kind of where we're at, which we are all literally saying the same thing, but the title of the current strategic plan that's up for vote is acting as if it is the comprehensive plan over 4 or 5 years. And as a committee, we're saying that's not deep enough. There are bigger holes inside the plan and the vision of what Estacada wants to become. I mean, residential development is killing it. Economic development or business development has some work to do. And it's our charge. We're putting the charge upon ourselves ultimately to work over the course of the next year to develop a true, robust plan that creates a map that we can provide to the city, ultimately allowing them to work through that process. And so I think that if you look at that strategic plan, the very last page, it says the action plan. And if you read that, budget for future business, check. We're going to do that in the next 12 months. Move forward with market study for a future hotel operations. Check. That's something we can communicate to the commission. We're going to do over the next 12 months. Coordinate with Estacada High School to assist in alignment CTE programs. That's a great idea, by the way. Check. That's something that we can work on over the next 12 months. And then I think action development outreach to property managers, that's a great 12-month goal. And I think we can add a 5th goal, and that is to begin the process of executing the plan that we're working on over the next 12 months. So I think we can amend this to meet council's requirements of a 12-month action plan, and we can add a few things to this plan. But I agree with everybody that we need to change this to not be the comprehensive plan it was originally designed to be. Just call it this is our action plans for this year.
You could even say for your 5th item that you were mentioning, like identify key components or key subjects of focus for the comprehensive plan.
Nice.
Yeah.
You could identify all the things that you liked about the Sandy, because they may not both have everything you like, and you may not want some of that one has and some that the other has, but identify all the items that you did like seeing in there
Mhm.
that you think would be a benefit for the comprehensive plan, and identifying those things so that we're prepared when a private contractor comes in to work on those things. He knows what to focus on, what is of interest to the committee and to the council and to the community. I think that's a realistic goal over the next 12 months too.
Yep.
Thank you.
City Manager Wagner,
Hello.
we're so awesome to have you here.
I just came in, because Elena had to run and she said, maybe I should come in and see if there's any more questions, but it kind of sounds like, do you have a question or? Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want to have all the pressure on everyone. Like it got sprung, like some people were surprised by the vote.
Okay.
How critical is it that, I mean, with those amendments, are you guys comfortable with passing everything today, or
Well,
if you are, then it's a
we're
moot
co-
point, my
I think
question.
we're closer to comfortable passing the 12-month action plan.
Yeah.
With the amendments. We are not comfortable in calling this any form of
Right.
a strategic plan or a comprehensive plan.
That's perfectly fine.
That's,
right?
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't sure how fast you would be able to put together a strategic plan. Maybe you're coming in here with, hey, I've got this in my head right now. We're going to put our heads together. This is boom, boom, boom. This is what we need to do for the next 5 years. And sometimes it takes a little longer to put that together. So you definitely don't have to approve this strategic plan to say, send it to the council and say, hey, let us adopt this. You can continue to work on that. That could be a goal, but we do need to know, like, what events are you doing? What's your budget? And make sure that the council's good with that.
Yeah.
And then what your plans are. Like, I think
Yeah.
I think
with-
you're right on track.
And with the idea and what Elaine, just to reiterate what Elena was saying, if the recommendation of the committee is that some big expenditure needs
Yeah.
to happen,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's not gonna be final here anyways. That's gonna go up to the city council, and then it'd come out of the
Right.
city budget. We'd
Right.
have to look at if we had the funds for it.
Right, exactly. Like,
Uh,
oh, go ahead.
And that speaks, Commissioner McElroy, to my concern that if, say, in July, we put to the city council that we need this bigger plan, and it goes to them, and then they do some discovery and find out it's an $80,000 spend. That's a large thing. It's like when your kid comes to you and says, hey, I need this $300 coat. And you're like, oh, where did that come from? They may not be able to physically approve it in this fiscal year. And that's what my concern is, that the bigger plan gets pushed out to the 26 to 27 fiscal year. And we're unable to act on that. And so we end up in another cycle next year where we can only approve a 12-month budget because such a document has not been created.
I think what the recommendation would be from me would be to say that the committee is recommending that the council budgets for a comprehensive economic development plan.
Yeah.
In this fiscal year, and then we could get feedback from John, could do some research maybe for
Okay.
us, if he's okay with that, with the standard pricing, or at least a ballpark pricing that we can take a look at, let the budget committee, that way it goes through the budget committee process.
Good stuff,
We get the
yeah.
feedback from the community that's something, we'll get all that feedback from them. And then when it comes to the council, it's in there for that particular thing. It's not going to be I'd be hard to say that whatever comes up is there are going to be some things you're gonna have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
But if that's realistic, you think that we're gonna have everything ready and start that comprehensive plan within 12 months. We got a lot of work to do to identify
Yeah.
those things and dig into stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be, would that be okay to do it like that?
That would be great. I would caution on like saying that we want to do, that's a very big undertaking. It's going to take staff time. It's going to take community involvement. Are we going to set aside urban renewal planning, getting ready for the urban renewal district? To do this plan instead first? Or do I guess my hope was that this committee could outline some general guidelines of what needs to happen, and we wouldn't be doing such a major planning, because we already are going to be updating the Parks Master Plan this year. We are working on urban renewal planning. We've got some massive infrastructure projects going on. And so it all kind of has to fit into that. But I think if that's what you think we really need, that's what needs to come forward. And it might not, I can say it probably won't happen in this coming fiscal year 25-26, but we can be gearing up for that. And that way nothing's going to like jump in ahead of that, because we recently updated housing. We've done economic, we've done the market study. We're going to do the hotel study. That's a smaller thing. But then, we'll be gearing up to say, hey, Economic Development Commission says we need to do this, this plan, and we'll know how to plan for that. And I think preparing is okay. And I can tell you, it probably isn't going to get put forward in this fiscal year, but I don't know if we want to set something else aside and prioritize that the council can definitely direct us to do that.
Straw
I think,
poll, does everyone think it's worth doing?
Well, just someone who's been a part of comprehensive plans, and then I want to give Commissioner Stahl an opportunity who hasn't had one yet. But I've been a part of the Parks and Rec comprehensive plan as a participant and leader. I've been a part of the transportation master plan, which is another example of something that has come from a committee, which was very comprehensive and robust. I think it's an appropriate ask to come to the city council to say that this is just based on the conversation we had, and this committee is very talented and very connected to our economic, engine of our community, that probably is honestly the next step of a comprehensive plan that's needed in addition to the other things that are going on. So I don't think it's inappropriate for us to request from the city council for this comprehensive plan. In fact, it's probably what's next in terms of that process, given what's the urban master plan, urban growth boundaries. And one could even argue that the priority of doing a hotel study is actually backwards from having a comprehensive plan and then doing the hotel study. But it's just where we're at right now, and that's perfectly okay. Yeah. Commissioner Stahl.
I know. I'm sitting here listening to all this discussion. I'm going, I get it. We're looking for something elegant, and we're not at the elegant stage. And the old slow is smooth and smooth is fast
Mhm.
kind of thing. I don't know. We're heading in the right direction. I hate to tell you, but we need to shove this ship off and get it sailing. Putting this down as this action plan, maybe adding a few more elements to it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
There's some things in here that aren't in this action plan that we need to probably put this out as an action plan for this year and then start on the comprehensive plan and really get into it because there's a lot to unpack here. I started to unpack it and my head was spinning and I'm used to really large things like this and I'm going, oh boy, because there's so much we need and, you know, and no cash to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone memorized the mission statement of this plan yet?
See, that's my concern too, that
That's what I'm saying.
even if we're gonna go, there is some work, even if we're gonna modify this,
Yeah.
there is work to be done to it. I mean, if not for just spelling, but I mean, there is work to be done before before it's done, if
Yeah.
that's the way we're gonna go. We came in saying, hey, this is not a 10-year plan, this is not a 5-year
Right.
plan. And so we have this conversation. So now if we're gonna go forward on that basis,
Yeah.
we have to prepare it for
Yeah.
that.
Quite honestly, I would rip every page out except the page that says action plan. And that's what, and that's what we'd vote today to submit to city council as our 12-month plans. But I think we should have a conversation about what we want to add to those plans that the commission can hold us accountable to in order to execute. Commissioner Chandler, you have anything you want to say more about this specific topic?
I think
Okay.
just to concur with you about just submitting action plan as our focus for the 12-month period.
So with that, let's move then so we can get some action done. Let's move to what we want to put as additional bullet points or edits on the last page. And John, if you could maybe write these down.
I'm right here and we're recording them on
Awesome.
the video too.
Great.
I think we just wanted to identify one last action item, which was, or did we want to go through each one of these really quickly?
Let's do that. So top action is to co-host 2 events. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You are-
Okay, 2 is good. We're all busy people.
Yeah.
To move forward with the market study for future hotel, I think in the last meeting, we were supportive of that holistically, correct?
Holistically.
I don't understand where that came from.
That's a great
Like,
question.
How do things like that come and appear in here? Because it didn't come from this committee. So what did the city council say? Hey, we want a hotel study and so that comes through the
That's what I would
Cor-
guess,
Correct,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, commissioners, yeah.
Well, we are a
If you-
recreational community technically.
I understand that, but
Tourism.
like how do we meet and we meet and meet and all of a sudden that shows up on our budget?
Tourism is a goal for the city council and there's a goal of city council to study for a hotel study. Staff put that here. We discussed that
Yes.
in length at the last meeting. You all approved it. That's where we're at today.
So simply the city council says we're interested in the hotel study. And so then that goes on there. That's,
No,
Correct.
no,
Okay.
no,
Correct.
not that at all. What he's saying is that it was a goal of the city council. It was mentioned in previous meetings. It was discussed in previous meetings of
City-
of this committee,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
not of a separate committee. It was discussed in this committee
Sure.
and then it went in there.
And I think we changed that though we wanted to be more broad with it instead of just a hotel market study to be more of an economic development study. And I think we need to
Yeah.
clarify that because we don't want to budget and then have some ambiguities between what we budget and what our action plans are for the year.
It won't be a part of the budget.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This won't be part of our budget.
It's part of,
Yeah,
part of,
that-
part of.
Oh,
the
so
city
this is gonna be-
council.
this
The
is
city
totally
council wants it
different.
Because,
That's
because what's
30,000.
happening is like,
It's a
when
recommendation.
there's events that happen out here, no one can stay out here.
Yeah.
So when we have 4A schools that are coming in and competing, they have to drive back to Oregon City or
Sandy or
Portland or
Park
wherever,
Coast,
Sandy, to stay at places. And that's what was driving the discussion about, if it can't be a destination without some place to stay. So we can't get people out here. And that was a really paraphrased version of the discussion at the city
Sure.
council level. But I do remember it being brought up and then the discussion happened in one of our committee meetings as well about the hotel study.
So I think we can, what I would suggest for this is we move forward with market study and then we have bullet point hotel and also food cart. Because I think that's really important to have like some sort of localized or centralized food cart area with, that venues can be hosted at as well. I think that would be also go along lines with the hotel because you can't have people come out here if there's nothing to eat.
Okay, so we'll amend that to add that, and I think that that's appropriate. And you will have to forgive us, Commissioner McElroy, as well as John. This committee has turned over so much that the history of the conversations of this committee, man, I don't know what was talked about.
Sure.
We
We weren't trying to slip anything.
No.
I don't have anything to do with the packet, but I'm just saying,
I know
I remember a lot of the.
David's
conversations.
new
Yes.
and we've had the
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, coordinate with Estacada High School to assist with alignment to CTE programs. You know, again, I think that's a great thing. The school district has a responsibility in that too. And we're in the process of overhauling that too. So I think that that's a realistic goal to at least begin that conversation.
Sure.
And it's one of our strategic plans from the school district as well. So it's in alignment. Property managers and future workforce housing partners. I think this one is a priority of Commissioner Sale in terms of really focusing on that. And it's something I think we all support. So I'm good with that as well.
Sure.
Unless there's any objection. And so then the blank space is where we get the opportunity to fill in. And I'd like to take a first crack at the bullet point to just say that we will investigate and research for a comprehensive economic development plan, double plan, plan.
5-10 year.
Yeah.
5-10
yeah.
year outreach plan.
Yep.
Outreach, I guess would be wrong.
Usually those plans that can go, they can be 10 to 20 years, they're usually 20-year plans.
As-
This is a,
As they should be. I just, and again, I just kind of got the ball rolling. I'm gonna need some language help on it, but really because it, you know, I appreciate clear is kind. You know, it's not like we're gonna have funding to start a comprehensive plan, but I think any groundwork or foundational work we can do. So when the city council says go, this committee is ready to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what Councilor McElroy said earlier. So I think just you guys, and I'm just so excited to see you guys are looking at different plans and you're looking forward. So I think, you know, figuring out what you want in that plan, right? You know, that's going to be vital because when you do that RFP, you've all vetted out what you want to see done, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
I think taking the time to understand the different plans, the different components that you would want to see in an RFP would be a great opportunity. We could bring some different plans in, we can vet them, we can talk about them. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you want to see in here, right? Get all that pulled together to go to council and we can research, you know, getting some budgets of what that would cost and then say, okay, here's what it would take to do this. I think that would be a great step there just for this. I mean, it's a new council to your point, figuring out, getting started here, but I love where you're going with it at the end of the day. But I
Thank
think we
you.
need to do that component because what I'm afraid of, if, let's say staff goes out there, we come back, you guys will be like, well, no, we wanted this, right? So I think it's really, what do you want to see? You're the business members here in your community. Each community is different. What is it, your focus you want to see, you know, from there? So.
Would you like me to take a first pass at what we would like to see
Go.
for circulation and?
I think
discussion?
it'd be great for the subcommittee to continue that work, to
You can
say
put
it's
it in
a
one
subcommittee,
sentence, yes.
to
for
come back
this.
to the
Oh,
committee.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, for the sentence, but I was also saying, what would we actually be asking for?
Yeah, I think and bring that, you're the subcommittee, that's the subcommittee's responsibility to come
Yeah.
back and say, hey, we've looked at 15 plans and here's what we're going to present to the
I like
committee in
that.
May.
Yeah.
Here's some thoughts and then the committee can debate it and, you know, and
Because the environs of Estacada are totally different to
right,
Malala.
the
and
workforce
Sandy.
housing's different
sure.
here.
The
than
national
Malala.
forest,
Malala
the
has
tourism, the fishing,
you know.
everything is not available in Sandy.
different.
For
right?
sure.
Exactly.
And I think to go along with Chairman Carpenter's, you know, what we need to do is identify, you know, come up with one sentence right now that we can submit and then we can get on our way and get back to work. But identify areas of focus for a strategic plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Comprehensive strategic.
Strategic
Simple
plan.
as that, yeah.
Yes.
Identify areas of focus for a comprehensive strategic plan.
That uniquely
Yeah.
uniquely address Estacadas. Economic.
There you go,
Yeah.
at Estacada, but
Yep.
we all know it's Estacada, right?
Yep.
No, we do, but
Yes.
Estacada is very different.
Great. And put in there, we're better than Sandy and Malone.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the major.
Yep. Okay. Oh, yes. Would you like to contribute to this?
I do have a question, not to the sentence, but is somebody going to be able to attend the council meeting on April 28th to present, this is our work plan, this is our budget, is that, and then the council will give feedback. Is there anybody that's
Great job for our vice chair.
able to, yeah, maybe.
We
vice
deny
chair
him. He
style?
doesn't show up.
I could do it.
We nominate our vice chair to
Okay.
Accept the nomination.
Perfect.
represent the council. Yes, and if I'm available, I can be there to support as
Okay.
well.
So it's May,
Back me up.
excuse me,
It's like
April
stammer,
28th,
stutter through it.
April 28th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
there's no more questions, I'll,
Can you put that,
Give you
John, on
the-
our calendar
Yep.
or something?
Yeah.
We'll send it, yeah.
Thank you. And
Thanks,
great
Bill.
job. Thank
For
you.
coming in.
Any other additional bullet points that we want to accomplish over the next 12 months?
I think that's a pretty good
It's a full
start.
plate? Nope. Commissioner Moore has one more.
Just a thought, only because this is new. Is
Yeah.
there any, is there any way that we should or could align with the goals that are in here for city council with our action plan for this year that we haven't already
That's a
discussed?
great question, as we should be aligned to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's a good direction. So just a perusing through to see, and if we're already there, great, but
Yeah,
this is a great document, by the way.
I think we just add, just align with the city council goals for
There you go.
2025.
Nice.
Done.
There we go.
Yep.
Where,
Nice.
where they do not divest from our own.
Yeah.
To the council.
Of which we
Yeah.
are.
Okay,
Yes.
I love it. That's great.
Okay,
We
that's it.
really aligned with that one right there.
There you go. It was just an acknowledgement that we have read it and we're trying
Economic
to.
growth and business
Okay.
opportunities.
Okay,
So we are going to amend our agenda. And we're going to replace the word strategic plan with 12-month action plans. Does that sound acceptable? And so all we're approving is page 11, or the very last page
Yeah.
of this thing, which fulfills our April submission of goals to the council. Okay, so I need a motion and a second.
I motion.
I second
So motion.
the action
and-
plan.
And seconded. Any discussion?
I think we flayed that one.
Okay, hey,
Don't go
always
there.
giving opportunities. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Congratulations. And I do want to say to the city council and to John as well, that it's refreshing to see that this is not going to be a rubber stamp committee. We've got people who are truly invested in the success of this process, and that's a blessing to the city of Estacada. And so, great job, everybody. Moving on to industrial campus outreach.
Well, that was in your budget, so we would do an outreach, so
Proposed budget.
proposed budget there. Just to have some discussion here and thoughts, around what the commission thinks and we should be doing during that event there, and some ideas for it. So, because it's, I'm thinking probably like what, July? So we have May, June, 3 months to plan. So that's where we're at right there today.
Okay.
What does
That
we have industrial operators in there. We just had the Mass Timber Conference here in town, the International Mass Timber Conference. And the city and the county hosted with Solder Timber 5 stations there. We had over 2 tour buses of probably 100 folks that came
Awesome.
from all over the United States and 4 different countries. There's only maybe 3 local folks that showed up. So Solder Timber, if you haven't been, I think it would be a great opportunity to, maybe we go to a couple different spots and we find out what do we what is the support of these small businesses in our industrial campus? What do they need? And I think also building awareness around what we have going on out there is important. Solder Timber has put a huge investment in the industry out there. Some of that equipment's over $4 to $5 million. So it'll probably be running by that time. So it's one of the events we need to think about. And I think thinking ahead of like how we want to structure that would be a good conversation here today.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment on that. I think, part of the outreach is just making it convenient for everyone, not just like business owners or industrial, business owners. On a lunch on would be great. I don't know if there's somebody out there, like maybe Eric, you have availability to host something, or the city can do a barbecue, find somebody that can host it.
We have hosted at Lock Building before. They hosted the industrial summit that we did last year, just trying to get interest engaged. So
Yeah.
I think we could find
A free lunch would bring a lot of people in. So, and it would give us a lot of interaction, be able to talk with
Okay.
people. So.
If there's a lack of opportunity for a space, we won't be without a space.
Yeah.
But if there's another business that wanted to step in and fill that the shoes and have people at their place to just kind of show what they got going on, I would be more apt for that to happen than it to be at the same place.
Mhm.
But it's not a problem at all. We have plenty of space. We can clear out the classroom and make space in our facility.
Yeah.
So it won't be without a spot.
I think even some of this conversation, if people are still interested in coming down and touring our plant today down in the industrial park, some ideas and realization of what's going on down there, what are some of the challenges, those then play into this conversation as well. And so there's, there's some learning to happen, and then it might change perspective as well.
I know it may not be popular, but I'd almost recommend that we punt this to the next meeting if possible. And the only reason why I ask that is because I have to disclose, I have no knowledge of what's effective and what's a good event. The last thing I want is for us to, just have hot dogs out there and, people feel like it's not a value of time or that type of thing. And so I would like to know more from studying and other ones that are truly successful events that are worth our time, worth our money. And is something that could almost, instead of us trying to figure out like, let's go to Eric's place and, get some burgers going, or go to Locke and do this, like, is there an annual 2 events that are proven to develop and bring people together, that so then every year we don't say, what do you want to do? It's this is this event and this is that event. And they're almost more annual events that mean something
I think
to our local community.
I think that's great input right there. I think one thing I think we should think about, I like to have deadlines, so I think like committees can drag on and ideas can drag on, so, but I think like, July, we should maybe say, is July a good month? If we could come away with that today, I love the idea of going and seeing Eric's place and talking to some of the business community, and to your point, I think it would be great if this could become a yearly thing that we do in the industrial park, and what is that? And we could
Right.
brainstorm and walk through Brian, through Eric's area, and then come back and talk maybe more like, what's that agenda? We could come away with it and everyone could have a couple of weeks and email some ideas for the agenda, or what that itinerary would be like. We heard lunch, we heard, maybe there's some things that we learned from Eric's today, but and from you, to how do we get this to be an annual event, right?
Yeah.
And who are those players? Because I think it's important too that we bring, our elected officials, not only from the city, but from, legislative wise, statewide,
Right.
getting that awareness
Sure.
of what we're doing out here
Yeah.
would be important to what are some of the challenges or help that we need in our business community,
For
right?
sure.
So,
I mean, even something, again, I know nothing, but even something like a poker run where people go to different businesses.
yeah, they used
or-
to do that. I think
Or
that'd
throw
be
some
great.
disc
like,
golf
if we went-
cages on Industrial Street and we're playing disc golf
Yeah.
tournament with the local folks, and, every hole is, featured. Anyways, there's a lot of different opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to do something innovative, exciting, and out of the
keep-
box
keep growing.
that makes something that people look forward to. So the big decision is July, a good time to be able to at least commit to that event.
Just to put out there, and I know we have an open house that we prepare for all year,
Yeah.
and it's August 7th. And I know like Battalion just had one a month ago. So sometimes getting on
To
the
piggyback.
That's a
the
great
details
idea.
of something
Yeah.
like that might be interesting to consider.
That would be
Okay.
really great.
So the proposal is August 7th will be our
August 7th,
first.
second.
Well, or even
industrial-
that day before, after, just consider,
Yeah.
consider how, I mean, we could be very helpful around that time because we're already like,
Yeah,
got things like put together.
Yep.
So if
That's
it's
what
help-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could also maybe check off another one of our action items when we coordinate with Estacada High School to assist alignment with CDE programs, because of the last event. Sorry, my allergies are on
No,
point
mine
today,
too.
so
I'm coughing
struggling.
all over the place.
At the last event, we had a focus on education, and it was really enlightening to hear what CCC was doing.
Yep.
to support industry and what industry needs. And that was a nice connection to make. So maybe we could incorporate some in the programming, something around the high
Absolutely.
school CTE programs. and how it
Amen.
relates to
And the
local
CTE
businesses.
programs can help us execute the event
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
just for those types of things. So.
I love your pub crawl event too, like a passport program, you know, you
Absolutely,
could get a
just-
stamp if you go to this business and we have a raffle
Yeah.
maybe at the end and
Yeah.
there's a basket or
Yeah.
something.
Well, and you can drink, you can drink in the private sector and just go to Eric's.
No, you
Okay, just kidding.
No.
Okay, okay, so, it sounds like August is gonna be when
Yeah,
we agree to
that's- I
that,
love
at
it.
least the first of two. And we'll go there.
August 7th, did I hear?
Yep.
Well, I'll think with my team that's planning that, figure out how we do that, but the
Okay.
idea of somehow considering.
We got a planning team already together.
Yeah.
But I'm not on it. I'm not on it, so I can't really.
Even
Well,
better.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
How many people that was your idea?
No, I have to check on this. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to that, but that sounds great, and that's an appropriate time. Okay, Northwest Disc Golf, let's go lightning round here. Northwest Disc Golf Fling Championship.
Oh, yeah, so the city has a booth. It's the end of May and we'll be doing outreach. There's a regional championship here in the area. So it's again, just bringing, back to what I think you talked about, where the city's gonna get some marketing swag and we're gonna be just promoting the city at that event.
What's the date for that?
I'll get it for you here. Want to say it was,
That's not an esticated somewhere else.
That's at McIver Park, I
Yep.
believe.
McIver
That's
Park.
like a major like pro disc golf, people come in, would have been a great time to have a hotel. Yeah, yeah,
Well, we can see there's opportunity there, so.
yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a major, that's like one of, like,
It's like a
May
yeah,
29th
like-
through June 1st.
okay. It's like the masters of disc golf. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and then in don't hold me to the 26th or 27th, they're gonna have the world championships there.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
Just, after June?
no, the following, they're gonna have in 26 or 27, they're gonna have the world championships at
So
McIver.
We definitely want to make sure that.
So-
We're there
No,
for
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy it. I'm a proficient.
So, it's how do you try and draw folks from there into
Because
the
it goes
city,
across the road here,
marketing.
never
wise
right
from there.
after. Isn't
Yeah.
that pretty much a hotel?
It
And a
is.
food cart.
Yep. Okay, this time is now open for commissioner comments. Does any commissioners have any additional comments for the good of the order?
I just had one comment so far as the budget. Since we pretty much blew out 30,000 of it, we're down to 10. What do we want to move forward as a budget? Do we want to bring the whole 40,000 anyway? But there again, do we have call for that?
Good question. 30,000 is for hotels, correct?
Yeah, well, that's what we budgeted for, it, but
Okay.
it's not, like I said, it's not
Not a-
particularly realistic, It could,
Wasn't hotels started like 14,000 and then we put more in to make
Oh,
it
to
more
do the food
encompassing for
carts.
some
And
other
broader.
things as well?
Correct.
Right.
Yep, that's right. And we've got 5, it looks like, for the cool party we're gonna throw at the industrial park.
so,
And then the other 5 is for marketing, if I don't
We
recall.
did 2 events and then so we
That's
did
the
an event
marketing
for
message
industrial
on there.
campus and then for the fall, like here in the downtown, a business appreciation
Yeah.
event. And then we put in, I think it was 5 you guys wanted to be able to do some marketing, brochures, radio,
mhm,
media, some of the,
sure.
Can we hire a lobbyist to lobby the city council to approve our budget?
Play disc golf.
Yeah, there you go.
go to the industrial event.
Okay.
Correct
Nope.
me if I may be mistaken, I'm going off memory, but your guys' budget without the hotel study in it would be the largest budget of any committee
Really?
already,
Okay.
without padding the 30,000, just to give you an
Okay.
idea. And the first question I'll ask, if something came to me without something attached to it for $30,000 of extra money was, what's it to be spent on? And if you didn't have an answer for it, it would immediately
Yeah,
get shut
food
down on my
carts.
vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had for the food.
As far as
Yeah.
just for me, I don't know how other people would see it,
For
Uh,
but
sure.
that'd be my thought.
But are we technically gonna spend that money for those items, though, if we leave the 30 in there?
I think the hotel would be more recommendation as, and then it would be up to the budget committee and then city council. And I think the downtown food cart areas, you know, I think that's a recommendation that you'd want to have that study
Mhm.
that you've talked
And
about.
that's
I think.
included in our proposed budget.
Yeah,
what
that's
that
already,
looked like,
and
right?
those have already,
Yeah.
those have gone in. I mean, I think we approved that last time, so I don't know if you have to, yeah, I guess the question would be more just, I mean, the last meeting minutes, I think our budget was approved.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go back to what.
Yeah,
Budget
no, it's
Chair
just
Saul, where
making
you're
sure
at
that
there.
We've got all our, you know,
Yeah.
T's crossed and
Yeah.
I's
Yep.
dotted or.
It's good. I would just say the only thing when it comes to budget and, you know, Commissioner McRoy, hopefully we can lean on you a little bit is, you know, as you can tell, the passion of us wanting to put together a comprehensive long-term plan that just over the course of the next 12 months, there is some advocation and prioritization for next budget cycle to try to make that a priority.
That'd be a priority for me too.
Yep.
I just don't think it's the timing, 12 months goes a lot quicker than you think.
Amen.
And the amount of community engagement that's going to be required for
Yeah.
going out to get participation for feedback for that study to be, I mean, it's just a lot more. I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
you guys can get
To
a
do it
lot done in
right.
the next year that are going to prepare us for it, and I'll fight hard for it to be a priority. And the council goals for when we developed the council goals for that, and it was identified on page 10 of this, the plan
Yeah.
itself is, if you look at page 10,
Yeah.
it is a focal point for us, so it's already been called out. Create economic development plan.
Yep.
And it's not, we don't think that that's a 12-month thing, but. yeah.
Agreed. No, to do it right,
Absolutely.
it's a comprehensive process. Any other committee comments?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that silence as a no, which brings us to item number 9, adjournment. Great meeting, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.